Welcome to the Connection Podcast. I am Lauren Dry, also known as the Connection Catalyst. Connection and this podcast for me is personal. As a driven professional, I found myself an expert in all things work and business, but it was at home that I really needed clarity and ease. After finally finding it one marriage breakdown and one marriage reset later, and finally discovering what really works to have connection in modern relationships, using science, simplicity, and soul, our signature program, Rise into Regulation, was born. It's giving so many others in modern, driven relationships back clarity and ease for good. On the podcast today, we're going to dive deep together on all things relationships, business, identity, and leadership. And clarity and ease is at the heart of it all. And we are so happy to be with you so that you can have what you need in connection, mind, body, and soul too.
Welcome back. Today, I'm so excited to introduce to you Amy Guo. Amy is the CEO and co-founder of Her Seat, and I'm so excited to cover more about that. But first of all, introducing Amy. Amy, I would love to share with our audience today why this topic of visibility, why the visibility dilemma is so important for all of us, and why you feel like this is the episode that the audience is going to absolutely love today.
I think definitely being a woman in business, and everyone talks about authenticity and sharing things online and connecting with your audience. It's so big. But then also being someone who personally likes to be private, I think that's something that I would love to talk about and unpack because I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. And I think it's so relevant in relationships at the moment too, because we all know, and it's very, let's just say, kitschy. Everyone sees these posts on Instagram, these viral lifestyle reels all about be authentic, be yourself, let your light shine and let your true people come to you. But I think we can all relate to how dangerous it can be to actually be authentic, not only as a business owner, but personally in relationships, in our most intimate relationships, in our friendships. It can be a really tricky line to dance, and especially with AI, especially with business these days being such a
Personal brand.
it is. We're aware of the importance of making sure that you are building something that is easy to access, easy to understand, easy to reach so that the right people can come and support you. And if you have a personal brand, so for myself, I've got a personal brand as well, it can feel really, particularly when you're first starting to build your business, really dangerous. It can feel frightening. It can feel overwhelming to try and find that line and that balance between really speaking to your people and finding your tribe. And through just taking the leap and taking the risk, I definitely feel like I found that with the Connection podcast community. Love you guys. Shout out. But it's been hard, particularly as someone who is very private when it comes to my children. In the past, I have been involved in different actions around protecting privacy, facial recognition, all that kind of stuff that really interests me and fascinates me. But with AI, there's a lot of trust lost in the business space. People don't know what to believe anymore. You don't know what's real. And on the other side of the fence, it's frightening for people too. When I place my trust in someone in a personal capacity, in personal relationship, or in a business relationship, am I going to be exposed? Am I going to be betrayed? Am I going to be judged? So that visibility without exposure, it's a really tricky line to dance. And I'm curious, where are you at the moment with that? And I know we were speaking at the Her Seat event recently. So if you haven't already seen this on my page, the Her Seat organization is a beautiful networking and safe place to land and also education space for women in business. Currently in Sydney, we are definitely having some sneaky peeks about expansion throughout the rest of Australia as well. And I know that there's some international networks that you're making available too. But when it comes to the conversations that we've been having, something that Amy mentioned recently was changing her Instagram profile from private to public. Talk me through what was happening there and why you've decided to make that.
So I actually grew my Instagram during COVID. When COVID happened, I think my business outside of Her Seat, I'm in the wine industry, it slowed down a lot. No one was going out. No one was drinking. Well, actually, a lot of people were drinking. Maybe not together. Together at home. In terms of restaurants and on premise, there was a huge, I guess, reduction of obviously drinking and consuming. So during that time, work, I wouldn't say there wasn't a lot to do. There was definitely a lot to do, but it did slow down a little bit. Other avenues of the business slowed down. So I decided to grow my Instagram during COVID with no intention of, it wasn't really like, this is a business decision. It was just for fun. I had one of my girlfriends actually told me, like, you should do it. It's where things are moving, being someone of influence. It opens doors or it brings opportunities. So I said, why not? Let's try it. So I started growing my Instagram. And then after, I think it was last year, early last year, or even the year before, I just decided, you know what, I stopped doing a lot of brand deals and I stopped accepting and answering a lot of the brand reach outs because I just felt like I couldn't commit to it as well. So then I decided to turn my Instagram on private. And then at the same time, Serena and I were building her seat. And I met Mel, who was another speaker at the Her Seat event in March. And when we met for the first time, she was like, you should turn your Instagram on public because it creates a barrier for people who are trying to get to know you and also Her Seat, the business. And when she said that, it sparked a thought back into me. And I thought maybe she's right. That's exactly how business is going, or marketing and branding. That's how it's going. People want to know the person behind the business. People want to connect with the founder stories, everything like that.
Talk me through the emotion that was going through you when she said that that would probably be not only something that adds to your business, but particularly with relationship building business like a networking event company.
Yeah.
What was the emotion that was happening when she was making these recommendations and telling you that this was important, even though you already knew through authenticity and this being something that others want to connect with you on, and that being a really beautiful avenue to do that? What was the emotion happening there for you when she first started suggesting that was necessary?
I knew that was the right thing to do. And I almost didn't want to hear it. I was like, oh, of course, I understand. But I felt, I don't know, I was definitely scared of putting myself out there again.
Yeah.
Because you can't help the haters and the comments.
Yeah.
And when I was growing my Instagram, not really pushing any business side of it, just growing the account, there was obviously a lot of internet keyboard warriors, and you sort of have to build a thick skin around that. And when I turned private, it was like, oh, it's nice. Like, there's no one commenting. Like, I post a photo and no one's commenting, like, you know, get a real job, even though they don't know. So I think when people were actually telling me, why don't you grow your personal brand and focus more on your business? I was like, yeah, I think that's the right angle. I was actually, for a moment, I was actually thinking, oh, maybe I should just post golf content because I like playing golf. I was learning golf and trying to improve. So I was like,
Along with breakdancing.
Along with breakdancing. Behind those doors, yeah. So I was like, why not just post golf content? But then the effort in posting and creating the content itself, I was like, oh, that means I have to prop up my camera whenever I go to the golf range or go to the course. And then there's like people waiting for you to tee off and you're like nervous already. So then I was like, oh, no, I can't be bothered doing that.
Does it feel like exposure as opposed to sharing and connecting?
At that time, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Putting yourself out there raw. Feeling absolutely raw. It's almost like you're walking out naked.
Yeah.
Like, this is me and this is my life and this is what I'm building and I might fail, and you're, you know, going along the journey and seeing everything.
It's so fascinating how that's the exact parallel of what is required of us in a really secure relationship too, isn't it? Instead of shielding ourselves and protecting ourselves and blocking ourselves off and just examining what the other person is doing and being like, well, you know, I can help you.
Yeah.
I can fix that for you. Just don't see me behind here. But it's so exposing to talk about how we feel and what we need and to actually be deeply authentic, specifically because there are, and you have evidence, we all have evidence in the past that us bringing our authentic selves to the table is dangerous. Have you experienced through this, I know you mentioned haters or trolls, but through your journey to try and be more authentic, has there been a moment in time where it has almost jarred you and said, well, this is like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put myself out there. I can pick a career, or I can pick a partnership, or I can pick a lane really where I don't have to expose myself because it's not safe.
There actually, besides obviously having internet trolls comment, there actually hasn't been a time where I felt like I was, or not that I know of, I'm sure that people are doing it behind the scene, or that's just something that I think about.
Yeah.
Fear of judgment, right? But then I'm constantly reminded by my close circle of friends or people that I look up to personally and opinions that I care about. And they're all just so supportive. And so that reminds me of like, why do I care about what people are saying?
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do, especially I think now why I feel a bit more comfortable turning my private account into public now is the mission behind Herseat. I think it's such a beautiful mission forward business.
Yeah.
And even if people were saying things or judging me or whatever it is, I'm like, well, my purpose is to bring women together and support them and provide that environment and redefine what networking looks like for women in business.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about. So yeah, if you don't agree with that mission, then you can go somewhere else.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it really speaks into as well that we do have the capacity to move through that discomfort, but it is hard to let go of, particularly if, as you said, there's not maybe one moment in time that really, even if there's so many, there is evidence of like this being a dangerous thing to do. If you've been so good and not overexposing yourself, sometimes we can build it up into something in our head that's really huge and really, really dangerous. And our nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real life threat and someone commenting something mean on Instagram. But was there a moment where you're surrounded by beautiful people who support you, but also you describe yourself as, interestingly, as an introvert?
Yes.
Even though probably on the outside, you carry yourself very well, like a lot of high performers, like a lot of high achieving women, they are very, very good at, in many instances, presenting one way, but, taking that bravery and that vulnerability leap can feel really, really vulnerable. Was there a moment in time where you felt held and you felt safe enough to really start to explore that professionally with your personality and bringing that to the front and turning your Instagram to public? What do you think was that moment for you where it felt worth it?
Honestly, I feel like it wasn't until the recent event. I know it was just like last week or something. I'm not sitting here saying like I have all the answers. I can provide all the insight and advice because I haven't figured it out fully yet. I mean, I feel like that moment was really last week when you see the impact and you see what the mission achieves and people believing in the mission and the feedback that everyone gives you. It warms the heart and it builds that confidence as well. Yeah. And you're just like now I'm thinking, it doesn't matter what other people think. It's the people that we care about, the community that we're nurturing and we're growing. Those are the people that we care the most about. So that's something that I think helps with what I'm building and I guess getting more people to hear the message and reach out to more people in women in business at least and letting them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So I think it's the mission behind it.
What do you think was a moment at the event last week at the launch of Herseat, one of, if not the most beautifully intimate, carefully curated, intentional and loving spaces I have been a part of? It speaks to the love and the care that you and Serena are bringing to women in this space in business who are ready to be held and to have that kind of support. Was there a moment at that event, that so carefully and intentionally held event, where I just watched all of these women just take a deep breath out. And it wasn't just because they were dressed up nicely and that they could sit and network. It was the intentionality they felt held. It was a really clear and tangible presence in the room. Was there a moment there where you realized that what you had tried to create and the safety that you had tried to create there, but also the growth, the intentionality, the positivity, and the structure, that the vision that you had tried to create there had come through, and it had already, the conversations that I've had after that have been absolutely groundbreaking. But was there a conversation or a share or a moment in time that you realized, oh my gosh, this is groundbreaking, this is life-changing work, allowing others to be visible by being visible myself too?
During the panel conversation, one of our lovely ladies who attended brought one of her team members, and she expressed and asked a question around her team and building her business and letting go of control because it is her baby. And just seeing women, both you and Mel, give advice, and then also other women in the room, and how it bounced around, like, that was beautiful, because everyone, I feel like we can learn so much from every single person, right?
Yeah.
Their lived experience, that what they go through. So it was just so nice to see that support from every single person in the room, not just from yourself and from Mel.
Yeah, it was a ripple effect. All it took was for one person to be brave enough to be visible.
Exactly.
And in a safe and intentional space.
Yes.
And then the village, we all talk about the village as women, the village, the village, the village. That's exactly what that was. And I've had so many conversations with her since. She's so wonderful. I can't wait to see where she takes that. She said that she's already on her journey to really break some of those old patterns there around feeling as though some of her responsibility in her business was to really be on and available even at 10 o'clock at night for her team. And by putting herself in that beautiful place of safe visibility, what she's realized is that by empowering her team and having new ways and new systems of doing things, particularly around the values mapping and having that intentional design to empower her team versus problem solve for her team, oh my gosh, not only does that free her up, but it allows her team to just grow and develop and problem solve at hyperspeed because they feel like they have the capacity and the empowerment to do it within a strong and simple system. So the excitement I have about where that's going to go for her is huge.
The energy of the women there, the vulnerability that we saw, people meeting for the first time were embracing each other, hugging each other, crying. It was just very raw, and people felt accepted and seen and understood in that space. And obviously you helped create that environment as well. And all the messages after the event, people were saying, I don't feel so alone. Like those types of comments that we received, that definitely makes us feel like this is so important. And for me personally to come out and also share that vulnerability and share my journey, and also Serena and my journey in creating this space, I think it's really important. And it's just being as authentic as possible and building the business is, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all business owners as well. And so they're coming on the journey with us, building Her Seat, the community, the business. I think that's really important from that connection piece. You're joining this community, but this community is growing and building itself as well. We're going through exactly what you're going through, and let's do it together.
Yeah.
And then seeing the response from people, it's just amazing.
If you had to say what are the most important ingredients for visibility without exposure, what would you say that those important ingredients are to be able to explore being visible in a business sense, in a personal sense, but also from that personal brand sense that is becoming so important without feeling exposed, without feeling like it's dangerous? Is that possible? And if so, how would you simplify that for anyone listening?
I honestly feel like you do this so much better, and I typically would want to ask you that question, not me, because I have not figured it out. But I think just from our conversations and seeing how you do it, it's like choosing intentionally what you want to show online. Like for example, for myself at that time, I was like, okay, I will just post golf content. This is before I was attaching personal branding to my business. I'll just post golf content. I won't post anything else, and choosing exactly what you want to show and having boundaries around, for example, you don't want to show your kids, or I don't want to show my relationship online too much, or I don't want to show XYZ. So I think having that, understanding the intention behind why you're posting, why, like what exactly is, or defining your personal brand, and then figuring out, okay, what are the pillars of content that I can post, and then go from there. And that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah.
For this podcast.
I think that was so beautifully worded around how simplicity really can be the key to having visibility without feeling exposed in business, but also in relationships as well. Who am I at my core? And then now that I've broken that down into my core, what are the safe topics? What are the safe grounding messages that you feel that not only are safe for you, but that are so important for others to also feel seen with? And for me, that's relationships. My pain became my purpose. And through that, I am so aware of how much joy and freedom and clarity and ease that can come from relationships when you have simplicity in your body. So I feel joy and I feel freedom in expression around that because it feels simple to me, and I'm well aware of the intentionality behind my messaging. But it also gives me a lot of simplicity around where it feels like exposure. So for example, I won't share my kids' faces online. You'll never see them on my Instagram account, not because I don't think that they're the most beautiful, magical, like adorable creatures that ever walked the planet. You know, there's a selfish part of me that's just like, I want everyone to see my face. Look at them and just look at them. But I'm well aware, because I have simplicity around the purpose of why I'm showing up in this space, that, you know, if you're sitting next to me or if you're in a client session, like, great, we can talk about our babies. You can have a look at my babies. It's fun. But I know the difference between visibility and exposure. And because that's just slightly to the left of center when it comes to what my purpose is, I have intentionality around, I'll share my experiences as a mother. That's me. That's my experience and my journey. We touched on that so much at the event last week as well. And it was just so moving. But in order to not feel exposed, I'm well aware of the pillars that inform my visibility.
Yes.
And the pillars that are left of center or outside of that, that may add color to more private conversations and relationships. But in a public space of visibility, then I'm well aware that that's not a necessary part. And it's, when I say necessary, I think it really helps to have discernment around that, because not necessary is not the same as hiding. It's just not necessary, which means I can have a safe and secure boundary around it and not holding it with fear. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I say or do this, I'm exposing my children, I'm exposing them to danger. I'm supposed, no, actually, I've created a simplicity and system and I'm not hiding them. I'm just safe and secure within the pillars that I've created around what's necessary to communicate and how I communicate about it, which gives me safety. There's nothing within this realm of conversation that I don't feel comfortable talking about, but that's through practice as well. And I think it takes events like Her Seat and having intentionally with my Instagram community, with my podcast community, I feel like I've built a safe place there too, where people are experiencing and going through the same thing. So that intentionality of choosing the right village really matters as well. But also allowing them to come to you. I wouldn't have found that village if I hadn't taken the risk.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. It's like understanding your audience as well. It's like your consumers.
Yeah.
You know, they're consuming your content, so understanding who they are. But then rather than being like, I'm going to create this content for you solely, it's like, what's true to you? And then if what's true to you connects to whoever consumes your content, I think that's just a lot more natural and authentic. We use this word all the time.
I know, yeah. And I think it's so important to pick apart that word authentic. I've covered it so many times in the past on the podcast, but there's always more to it. There's always more, because authenticity to different people is different things. I was once challenged on the podcast saying, I don't think authenticity is your primary value. I think it's honesty. And then as I was unpacking that, I thought, is my highest value actually honesty, or is it authenticity? And by unpacking that, I realized, well, honesty is not my highest value, because I think honesty is open for interpretation, but authenticity is a me behavior. It's how I show up and whether I feel deeply authentic myself, if I feel safe, if I feel secure, if I feel like I have the ability to be visible, not for other people, but for myself. It feels like a much more self-led value than honesty. So I'm so excited about this conversation. There's so much richness here around what it means to be visible. And particularly as someone who maybe identifies, I know we mentioned this before, as an introvert, is there any advice or support you would offer someone who is trying to explore being more visible, whether it's in their business or in their relationship or in their life, without feeling exposed?
So rather than looking at every comment, every like, and picking yourself apart, it's more just understanding and being true to what, again, back to the intention, back to the purpose. What is that purpose and why are you posting it? Are you posting it to connect? Or are you posting it because
Validation.
validation?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you'll always feel that fear of judgment if it's from seeking validation versus connecting and something that's purposeful. And I think that's something that I don't know, if we were to come back in another 6 months or a year and have this conversation, I could probably say a lot more about the lived experience. But I think before, when I was posting or growing my account during COVID, it was a lot of, what am I even posting for?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yes, this brand has recognized me. Okay, I get a free product and I'll post about it. But what is it? Is that true to myself? What is that exactly for?
There's such a strong people-pleasing element there that we all need to be really, really aware of
Yeah.
as well. Visibility, it comes down to who am I exposing? And I think if we are posting with intentionality of how many likes am I going to get? Or am I going to please this brand? Or am I going to get this deal? Our relationship with others becomes transactional. And so our ability to define success is dependent on whether it is validated by others. Did I get the brand deal? Did I get the client? Did I get the like? Did I get the comment? And I think that that's a really dangerous and slippery slope, particularly if you do have people-pleasing tendencies. There can be an element to people-pleasing that can be very deceptive. Well, I'm very, very good at achieving a lot. I'm very, very good at not getting in fights. I'm not very, very, very good at making sure that everything goes smoothly. And that can be a slippery slope to go down, because then you start to lose yourself. Well, what am I really in this space for? And, have I become so generic at pleasing everybody that I've lost the element of deeply connecting with anybody at all? And I think that that's so important. And I love how you mentioned and brought that back to social media as well, because I think we have to remember specifically that social media is a tool and it's a window and it's a snapshot of time. And for better or worse, when I first started using social media to support the business and supporting others to find rise into regulation to get the support that they needed, for better or worse, I kind of went into it with a little bit of attitude. Like, either you'll like it or you won't. And I've always had that little bit of a rebel quality to how I interact with things. You could say that that's the shadow self coming out. And whereas the more healed, like, integrated part is authenticity, but the shadow self in that vein is very much probably like stuff you, like take me or leave me kind of a deal. But I have found really genuinely that it has helped me as I've integrated that part of myself. An understanding with personal branding or an understanding with visibility in a public space is that I have a lot of materials and resources that I might create that take off and have 20 million views and all these comments and all these interactions, which is wonderful. And the blessing to be in that space to support others to feel seen and know that they're not alone. I'm here, I'm in it, I'm with you. I've been there, and here is where you can absolutely be. It's not a one-off. It's not a fluke, like, look what I did. Oh gosh, I'm so blessed to be able to help you if that's your path. But also the amount of pieces of content or resources or whatever it is that I've created that just on the surface of things look like they've disappeared in the cracks. They might not get hardly any likes or comments, or, I think this hasn't helped anyone. I will jump on a call with someone and they might have seen that piece of content. It might have been one of, like, this, let's for argument's sake say it was one view and no likes. But that one person who I speak to 6 months down the track, who has been following along and just genuinely feeling like they're finally not alone. That's my person. And because of that one piece of content that I created and that nobody else appreciated and didn't resonate with anyone else, that one person said, if it hadn't been for that, I would not be here today. I would not have hope today. And I think we just have to remember that who we are as a person, we are a blessing as a whole and complete person, and we don't need to be celebrated and rewarded and validated and given permission to be that person. When we allow ourselves to be visible because of those pillars, then we are allowing other people and inviting others to be visible too, and to come and share their light, whether it's just on a phone call one-on-one with me, or whether it's in a Her Seat event, or joining the community and really just being able to find a safe place to rest and grow.
Yes.
That doesn't happen
When you're
when you're behind your
closed doors.
closed doors. So if we haven't touched on this yet, the event was actually called Behind Quote Doors, the conversations that women who lead are having together. And that was exactly what was created. And it was the most special event that I have ever been to. So I'm really celebrating the intentionality that you brought to that place. And I really appreciate how this conversation is the middle space. It can be really tempting to have these kind of conversations like, I'm healed, everything's amazing, this is what you need to do to be like me. No, we all feel it. It can feel really scary. There are still, every single piece of content, I will still, it might be much quieter now, but I will still go, oh, should I change this or cut that out? But every time I do, I regret it. I do. I really, really do. And anytime I allow myself the freedom to be in that space and to be visible in safety, making sure that I've trusted the systems that I've created, trusting the community that I've built as well, it always has been a gift that whether I notice it straight away or notice it down the track, it has always been the gift that keeps on giving to myself and others.
You always have people who don't like you or say something. You can't please everyone.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the people pleasing thing. Like, I'm a huge people pleaser. So I think that was a big thing that I had to work through. And that's why I felt, I guess you could call it, burnt out creating content during that COVID period. When I'm growing my Instagram now, because like I said, it's very purpose driven and you know exactly who you want to attract by being who you are. But it's more just like, if you don't like the content or if you don't like the purpose behind it, then my account or me as a person, I'm just not for you. And there's so many amazing people out there creating all these different content that might connect better with you.
And I think having that evidence is really, really important. A really great moment in time I'll leave the audience with as well, and I'd love to hear if this resonates with you, was that I always come back to, I always think of, was interesting enough when I first started to homeschool the kids. I didn't know any homeschoolers. I thought that they were Amish people in America who wandered around in bonnets. And I was like, what am I doing? And I was terrified. But also I knew how important it was going to be that I find my community and that I can normalize this for myself. And I think I must have gone through 5 different community groups, feeling like a square peg in a round hole. And I kept challenging myself and questioning myself, saying, what am I doing here? This isn't for me. And I would try to adapt as well, the people pleasing element. Maybe if I make myself more, then I'll feel safer. It didn't work.
So you're not true to yourself.
No. And it is inauthentic. People notice it. It's something off. So I think it was by about the 5th group that I just landed like a drop in the ocean. And I was just like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm safe. I'm secure. And it works for us. And it's a really beautiful blend. But that happened, that security and that confidence happened because I not only didn't give up, but I allowed myself to be visible and risk it and accept the consequences of the risk, which were multiple times that I didn't feel seen, that I did feel out of place, that I did feel judged rightly or wrongly. And I think if there's anything I would love to leave anyone listening to this episode with is feel the fear and do it anyway. It might not work the first couple of times, but I would pay again and again and again, a million times over to found that community and found that safety and security within myself that allowed me to bloom, that allowed me to blossom, but it had to come with the risk of visibility first.
Putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And knowing yourself. as well. And not, yeah, exactly what you said it perfectly. I don't even think I need to add to it, but it's like knowing exactly or being true to yourself and then going and basically presenting yourself being like, this is me, like, are we going to connect? Is there acceptance? And never giving up until you find that space where you feel like, okay, this is where I belong. Because once you find it, oh my God, it amplifies what you're creating, what you're doing, the connections that you build. It just amplifies everything once you have the right community. So yeah, absolutely, don't give up.
Something we like to do on the Connection podcast is ask guests a question that was left by a previous guest, not knowing who the next guest is going to be. So I'd love to ask you the question, when was the last time you were truly happy in your life?
Oh my God, that is hard because I feel like there are multiple moments where I felt like I feel like there's no one single moment when you're truly happy. It is an accumulation of little moments that you value that makes you feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude and happiness. So I can't pinpoint a single moment. Maybe recently, after the Behind Closed Doors event and all of the prep and working with Serena and everything that accumulated, and for us to come together and just look at the feedback that we've gotten from everyone that was attending, that was a moment where I felt like, wow, that's amazing. That brings us so much happiness. But that's an accumulation of everything. So that's a hard question. I wouldn't say there's one point. I think it's multiple little points that accumulates. And then you just have this overwhelming sense of just, life's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. That's really beautiful. All right. Well, on that note, I would love to ask you, what question would you like to leave a future guest of the Connection podcast, not knowing who they will be?
What part of your journey has shaped you the most that you usually don't share?
I would love to ask you, Amy, what is the part of your journey that has shaped you the most that you don't see?
Honestly, I know people say that imposter syndrome and self-doubt, obviously it takes a toll and it affects you, but I think it is the questioning of myself and constantly seeing like, okay, can I improve? Am I growing? And constantly questioning that has definitely shaped who I am as a leader, as a friend, as a partner in my relationships. That's something that I think people don't see. That self-doubt, I don't like to phrase it self-doubt, but that questioning and wanting to continuously be like, could I have done that better? And questioning things has made me, I want to say, a better leader.
And what would you share to someone who maybe is still in the messy middle of the self-doubt and the confusion, maybe the imposter syndrome? What would you share with them about what you have learnt from your journey?
I think sit with it. Don't let it consume you and overwhelm you and think, oh my God, I'm terrible. And don't go into that spiral of negative thought. But if your mind or your body is telling you and questioning something, try to angle it in a more, I guess, positive way, or understand the intention behind it. Ask yourself, is this serving me in any way? Can I grow from it? I think that's probably what I would leave. You don't always see self-doubt and questioning yourself as a bad thing. Yeah.
Using that as a doorway to find more curiosity, not just believing the first thought, just allowing it to sit and see what the truth underneath it is.
Exactly. See it as like, act as a scientist rather than like a self-critic.
I love that. That's really beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Connection podcast, Amy. It has been such a joy. You are such a joy, and being a speaker and part of the Her Seat space for the next year, I'm so excited about, and I'm excited to share the vision and the intentionality and just the love that you really hold for everyone in this space. I really see that, and I saw that at the launch event last week. So I would love to share with the audience where everyone else can find you and Her Seat and follow along.
You can find Her Seat on Instagram. So the handle is at her.seat. And my personal Instagram is AMZ GUO _
We'll pop it in the show notes.
Yes, pop it in the notes. But yes, that's where you can find us.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. It is wonderful to share this space with you. And if you are following along, if you're listening to this, please make sure to head on over and join the journey at her seat and to get to know Amy in her authentic, visible self as well too. And if this episode has brought up anything in you and you are looking to dive a little bit deeper, take the conversation a little bit further, please come and hang out with us on Instagram at Lauren_dry anytime. And please share this episode with your friends, build your community, build your visibility. We are so blessed and excited to share this space with you. And I can't wait to continue the conversation. Big love.